Welcome to Pedro's Pearls of Wisdom. These one of a series of short talks where I give you the benefit of my experience as an old man, both my mistakes and my successes, so that you might learn in the future how to avoid some of the pitfalls and errors that I've made. This week I'm going to call this episode Technophobia, but really it's about computers and mobile phones and the problems they cause us. And this week, I'm the student and you're the teacher. Because I'm sure that you, the young, are much better at all this than I am. Your approach will be more relaxed, much more effective than mine is. I used to joke with my IT patients, and I used to have many, that they made computers and phones so badly that they would never have to retire. There would always be yet another program for them to have to write. I'm not sure they all saw my joke, but it wasn't a joke. It was sort of a bit serious. And although I have lived with these gadgets for 45 years or more, and I got onto them fairly early on when they came out, I really don't have the relaxed, try this, try that attitude that you probably do as a younger person. Somehow I want to tell the computer or the phone what to do rather than accepting that I have to fit in with the boxes and the algorithms that the computer has already been programmed with. And like a sat-nav, when I first got one, I used to yell at it saying, no, that's the wrong way. We should be going that way, from previous knowledge. And usually I was wrong and the sat-nav was right. And maybe I'm getting a little bit better in that regard over the years, but so often I need to ask a young person how to affect and how to use the computer or the phone for some such operation. When I was young, we had computers which, when you switched them on, they came on straight away, would you believe? Now they take a minute or two. The phones perhaps are better, but the computers still take time. Now, of course, they're so powerful that you have information from the whole world at a flick of a switch. And for someone like me, as a surgeon with an emergency commitment most of my working life, phones at least gave me a freedom which I'd never experienced before, even with a pager or other means of communication that they provided me with. But now we have multiple other problems. We have the fear of missing out from all the young people. We have information junkies. People just absorb information as if it was the daily milk. We have the bad news gatherers. Everywhere you switch on your phone or your computer, there is bad news. And then there are the porn addicts and the sport addicts and the music addicts and then the social media addicts. Are we happier now with all these things? I'm not sure. We certainly have too much choice, and when they go wrong or don't do what we would like them to do, I at least get quite unhappy. Sometimes people do too much with these machines that they need to detox, as they call it, and stop using them. And the money spent on these devices, it far outweighs what we used to spend on paper and pencils and notebooks and diaries. Now we have the other fears that come along with these very powerful machines that we have allowed into our lives. We have the scams, the financial scams are a constant worry. We have the viruses which seem to be able to make our computers do strange things or not do anything at all. It's almost like we've invited a stranger into our own household. And, I think most of us are convinced that when we start talking with friends about a certain subject, it doesn't take long for an advertisement to pop up on your phone or your computer relevant to that. So we do have this feeling that we're no longer alone and we no longer have privacy. So what's my advice? My advice should be take advice from you as a young person, because you're so much better at all this than I am. But if I had to give advice, what would it be? Don't let phones and computers and these devices dominate your scene and your life. Use only perhaps when they're needed and not all the time as people tend to now. Remember, talking, playing cards, playing games with your family does much more to social interaction and bonding of individuals than any of these machines. And I would say don't chase the latest gadgets because you think you've missed out. You'll miss out if you don't. And maybe, just maybe, sometimes you should leave these things at home and go out into the wide wilderness for a few hours at least without them, and you'll probably benefit from that. So I'm not sure I've given any useful advice, but I've certainly vented my frustrations with these machines, and all I can say is that I hope there'll be someone like you around to help me when I get into trouble. So goodbye for this week, and I'll see you next time for one of Pedro's Pearls of Wisdom. Goodbye.